Hi guys, I hope you're having an amazing day today. In this video, I'm going to be looking into the question, is there mutual attraction in this situation, or is this limerence? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the green Flourite. Group 2 is the Grape Agate. And Group 3 is the pink Calcite. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the green Flourite. So let's see, is there mutual attraction in this situation, or is this an example of limerence? Okay, we have the Beltane lover. Look closer, she is not lonely. And when fretful times come. So this is giving the energy that there is mutual attraction in the situation between you and whoever's on your mind at this point in time. And there's a sense that they are very overwhelmed by how perfect you are for them and how almost kind of like easy it feels, the idea of like taking a step forward towards you, crossing the threshold of like getting to know you more, having interactions in a more kind of personal or private sort of way. There's a sense of like you are this person's cup of tea. You are the glass of champagne they can afford or will find a way to afford. You are that ayahuasca that is opening things up for them and providing a lot of resonance on an emotional level in a way that transcends the ordinary. This person may be getting a lot of signs and synchronicities if they've asked about this situation, or they've just even been kind of like sitting with these feelings very quietly. And there's a sense of, I'm hearing two peas in a pod with like both these figures holding these little mugs, these little cups. They're seeing you as kind of like their perfect opposite in some sort of way. And there's a sense here of like, am I dreaming? Did I like dream this person into reality? Or, is this really happening? Is my quest for like true companionship, is that finally over? Has the work that I have done within to break free of previous patterns that were holding me back in life or in love, or kind of even reaching for something more? This person may have had kind of circumstances in the past where they were attracted to people who they perceived were like out of their league, and then they just sort of left it at that, like, well, that's an unachievable goal, that's an unattainable kind of place to be at. That person wouldn't possibly be interested in me. There wouldn't be like compatibility in a long-term sense, and so they just kind of let moments pass them by. But there's a sense that they've made an effort to kind of not take that defeatist attitude, to reach for the stars in some way in their life, and this has opened the door to aligning with you. And so it's bringing forth almost this energy of kind of like excitement and nervousness, because they see you as somebody that represents like an elevated potential for partnership or companionship. But rather than kind of like falling back into that defeatist attitude, there's like a can-do attitude, almost like, I may need to build a rocket and shoot for the moon, but that's totally doable. I can achieve that. I'm not just gonna give up before I even sort of get in this fight in order to, kind of transcend those boundaries, transcend those barriers. They're very magnetized towards you, very compelled towards you in a lot of ways. It's not just your physical appearance. It's not just your attitude or your vibe. It's everything about you. You're like the complete package for this person. And there's a sense of almost having come home when they're in your presence, like a different kind of home, something that doesn't resonate with like who they were before in previous chapters of their life, but like who they've been working to become, kind of like raising their vibration, changing their subconscious patterns, trying to kind of take on a more optimistic attitude towards life or focus on positive things and not get so caught up within their own kind of like shadows or darkness. And then all of a sudden, in this process, they've encountered you, this corresponding light. It's like this person has tried to be a light in their own darkness, or even a light for others in dark times, and they see you out here doing something similar or holding that similar vibration, or almost like we could understand one another on that level. And that's unlike what I've experienced in any connection with anyone I've encountered previously. So they're very drawn to you. And with this little owl here, there's almost kind of like, I want to be smart about how I approach this situation moving forward. I want to be wise. I want to look back at mistakes I made in other circumstances. And they see this as an opportunity where you're at right now with one another to close out big cycles for themselves, and to kind of like put into action promises they've made to themselves or work that they've been doing behind the scenes to level up in some sort of way, that they're seeing you as like the right person in order to kind of give this deeper version of themselves to, or this improved version, or even like a self-loving and a self-accepting version. There's a sense that so much about you is a mystery to them, but it's something that really excites them. Like it excites their mind, the idea of like, okay, what's my strategy going to be with this person? There's almost a sense of like destiny or inevitability that you've encountered one another at this time in both of your lives. And there's a sense again of like, is my quest over? Is my search complete? Have I now encountered this person that like, yeah, it's going to take effort. It's going to take action. It's going to take consistency. It's going to be scary and it's going to be rewarding. But maybe this is exactly what I have needed in my life. Maybe this is what all of those circumstances that didn't work out before, or lessons that I needed to learn, maybe it has all culminated this journey in this moment in time where here's this person that resonates with like a more expanded view of love in general, or like the vibe you put off, how you live your life. This is something again that is kind of, it resonates with like an elevated aspect of their life, like a better chapter of their reality, that they might have looked at for themselves. Like, I'm just going to go it alone. I'm just going to be kind of happy in my own company. I'm just going to sort of sit in my sovereignty. I'm just going to trust in divine timing that what's meant to find me will find me in the right time and manner. And it's like, here you are. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, and I'm hearing that was quick. So it might even be something where they've made like a commitment or a vow to themselves. They've released something from the past, like a mindset, or even, like a pattern, or a relationship, or like a situationship, something that had just kind of, it had left them stuck and stagnant, and they branched out into new territory. And sooner than they've imagined, here you are. And so there's a sense of kind of like, okay, I've reached this place of homecoming. Now let me take those steps in order to sort of bring this into a reality. So let's see what else you need to know about this. We have jester and inventor. So it feels like this person has been rehearsing potential scenarios in their mind, as far as not thinking about like worst case scenarios, but really focusing on like the best that can happen in this situation. Your energy is very refreshing to them. Your smile has within it kind of these codes for a very contagious type of joy that has affected them very positively. There's again the sense with like inventor, like, did I just dream this person up? Have I really just manifested this powerful opportunity almost out of thin air, which fills them with a sense of kind of like inner victory? It feels like this is somebody that wants to be kind of quiet and private about what their next moves are going to be, but they're celebrating at this moment in time. This is somebody that if there is that nervousness and that kind of fear, it's not holding them back. It's kind of like every moment that they look at these feelings towards you that have developed this mutual attraction, every moment that they kind of try to calculate or strategize a plan about like, okay, the next time I see them, I'm going to say this, or, you know, I'm setting a deadline for myself. I'm going to ask this person out for coffee or, you know, lunch, or, you know, I'm going to have like a more direct conversation with them, or start to kind of reveal certain things about myself. That empowers this person. It gives them a sense of like glee and victory, almost like the things in their life before, romances that had broken them, or, you know, people that had rejected them or hadn't appreciated them, or even mistakes that they had made in matters of the heart that might have forced this person to kind of sit down, you know, kind of like step out of the experience of harmony within romance so they could create balance within themselves. It's almost like they've paid those dues. They've paid that penance. They've balanced their karma in some way, and you are coming forth as this like refreshing experience of like, okay, the worst is behind me. Whatever my mistakes were in the past, as far as who I let into my reality or how I showed up in other people's worlds and realities, I'm able to forgive myself. I'm able to move beyond that. I'm able to shut that door to the past, because here's this new opportunity that's not just like, oh, well, someone came along and now you don't have to be lonely, but this is almost like you're their dream person in a lot of ways, that it feels like it's helping them to really appreciate whatever their journey has been to come to this point in their reality. It's making them very grateful and almost kind of happy in sort of a like a naughty or a wicked kind of way. Like, I'm really glad it didn't work out with those other people, because I would have missed out on the opportunity here and now. I'm really glad that I'm not like attached to someone else, or I didn't remain in that circumstance, that partnership that wasn't serving my needs. I'm glad that I freed myself, because now here I am at the threshold of aligning more deeply with someone who is the reflection of this elevated version of myself. So they feel victory already, even though, you know, because the nature of this reading, it's like, is it mutual attraction or limerence? There feels like there's a lot that's unspoken or undefined between the two of you, but they already see this as kind of like a sign or a confirmation from the universe, like you did the right thing. Either in kind of just, you know, taking those licks, taking those hits, and, you know, being humbled maybe for things that they had done in the past, broken hearts that had occurred, you know, because of things on their part, or ways in which, you know, other people had done a disservice to what they were offering, and they needed to kind of mend a broken heart, work through some trust issues in some way. All of that is seeming to have resulted for this person in a really beautiful opportunity that is helping to kind of lift them up or elevate them in some sort of way, to kind of like looking at their life and their journey not as something that they need to go it alone, or they're being, you know, punished because they were careless with somebody else's trust or someone else's heart. It's like you represent this kind of like fresh start for them, something that's better than they could have imagined. And so there's a very deliberate energy here as far as like wanting to kind of ride this wave of the high positive vibration between the two of you, and using that as the foundation to create something closer, something more meaningful. So let's get one more card about this, and then I want to get some guidance and advice from Spirit for you about the situation. Okay, we have the wish maker. Yeah, you are this person's wish come true. You check off boxes for them that they didn't even know were a possibility. And so there's a sense that this person is kind of needing to sit with this. Their heart is very eager and enthusiastic, but the logic is taking over. Like, okay, here's the reality of the situation. Dream person arrives, kind of just appears in my life, or we've aligned with one another in some way. So the hard part is over. The search is over. Now it's up to me to kind of like lead this circumstance moving forward, make my intentions known. They're feeling like they need to take the leadership role in this situation. It's almost like you sit back, I'll be the director. You just relax. Let me bring us forth beyond this place of kind of like mutual attraction into the exploration of the deeper possibilities that can occur here. Feels that in and of itself is kind of a wish come true. You make this person feel like they can be the hero of their story. Something where it's almost, this is almost the energy of like, you don't come across as someone who needs a knight in shining armor, and yet they have the opportunity to kind of like become that or embody that, which could have always been sort of like a fantasy or a dream for them in a way. And it's a sense of almost like being the first one to outwardly address this chemistry and potential, being the one to kind of take this from the realm of possibility and ground it into the material sense by asking you out, by, having conversations, by extending their kind of hand of friendship, or making those intentions known in some sort of way that is that knight in shining armor that's kind of rescuing this situation from just raw potential that if nobody acts on it, it'll just sort of fade and or continue to linger and would always remain as sort of like a what if. Like, they don't want this to be a circumstance where they harbor that energy of like what if and just carry that forth with them. It's almost like, I can rescue this potential from just floating around in the ethers, and I can actually do something in order to take a step in the material world forward that helps to kind of create a dialogue or create a pathway for the two of us to actually explore, okay, here's this chemistry and potential. Now, how are we going to combine forces in the here and now to meet both our emotional needs and to have a good time while doing that? So let's see what the guidance from Spirit is for you about this circumstance. Okay, we have drum, dream, and journey. So there's a sense here that you are encouraged to kind of like in your own sort of dream time space, in your own kind of imaginal space, tap into these energies. Acknowledge that current, even silently, between you and this individual, and co-create there, because they're spending a lot of time in that energy right now. This is bringing to mind that it's almost like with this drum, like a drum beat. Every time they're around you, they feel almost very elated and yet nervous, and that's something that they're reflecting on, not as a red flag, but as some kind of signal, an instinct, or an indicator to them of like, wow, this is exciting. This is that opportunity to feel fear and progress forward anyway, not ignore the instinct of danger, but the fear of the unknown, the beautiful potential that exists in that kind of creative space of taking chances and branching out in a certain sort of way. And so that's something that it's like they're actively trying to put themselves in that energy, kind of like, okay, I got to feel the fear, I got to face the fear, and that will empower me moving forward. That will help me to kind of be more bold or more assertive when I'm around this person. So there's a sense that for you, because it's almost like this person's wanting you to be in like a receptive mode. Maybe that just feels right for the roles for the two of you, or it's something that they require at this point in their journey to be assertive, to go after what they want. That may be kind of part of the lessons they've been having to learn, is to really advocate for themselves in a certain way. So this is almost the energy of kind of like, you can help to kind of co-create this next step between the two of you by allowing yourself to indulge in that fantasy. Allow yourself to kind of feel into that spark and chemistry, and don't shame yourself for kind of like daydreaming about this person. imagining what those beautiful scenarios between the two of you will be. And that's the way to really manifest. We manifest through emotion, through vibration, through frequency, and therefore are able to align with corresponding experiences in the material world. So while this person is like thinking and feeling and planning, you can do your part in this situation to remain in alignment with that process that they're trying to take the lead in, by continuing to infuse your energy and your presence within that kind of shared space in the higher or more subtle realms, where, you know, their higher self, their soul, their spirit is going to feel your essence consciously there, with attention directed towards one another. And then you're able to kind of braid your energy in with one another, and it almost kind of provides this person like an energetic or a silent confirmation of like, yes, it is safe for you to proceed. Yes, there is an invitation here for you to take action, to say something, or to do something. And it feels like that's going to kind of optimize the potential for kind of a beneficial outcome between the two of you. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got D, N, W, M, H, K, T, N, O, E, R, S, U, L, F, C, G, and D. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that in the bio. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. We chose the Grape Agate. So let's see, is there mutual attraction between you and the person that you're asking about, or is this a situation of limerence? Okay, we have the crone in winter. There are other conversations, and ancestors and apples. So I'm hearing the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with this energy right here. So it feels like something that you may be resonating with, like a pattern of wounding within this person, that you might have gotten hints or indicators of, but it could just be something that is kind of like embedded within the subconscious, that is an opportunity. This could be something you've acknowledged or you've been working on, things you might have broken free from in kind of a more outward sense with previous relationships, or your approach to dating, or your love life. And it's almost like this person has kind of like surfaced in your reality as a test of your ability to kind of look beyond the surface and to recognize lessons that you've already learned that don't need to be repeated. There's a sense that if you keep kind of feeding into this situation, like this person in some way acknowledges that you're attracted to them, but they may be almost like utilizing that, or kind of like holding that in a space within themselves of not really stringing you along, but it's empowering them in some way. And it is putting you in a position of, the longer that you kind of feed into the possibilities of this, the more that you're going to kind of aggravate an old wound within you that it's taken a while for you to understand or to heal or to break free from. And I'm hearing like nothing to see here. Like there's nothing new to see in this situation, because this would, if it were to move into something further, it feels like this person wouldn't be opposed to the idea of like hooking up, or like a situationship, but it's something that would almost like set you back, or might even be kind of a humbling experience if you did choose to continue to feed your energy and attention into this. It would let you know that you're not as healed as you think you are, or there's different aspects of a wound within that are needing to be addressed, which doesn't necessarily mean you've like regressed on your path, because healing, it's like a spiral. It's like peeling back layers of an onion. We have to readdress the same things that we like work through and kind of free ourselves from as different versions of ourselves, in order to really be able to kind of get to the heart of the matter, get to that kind of like deeper layer of the source of wounding, something that could be an ancestral pattern, something that was learned, something that was like passed down generationally. It's almost like this is a person, or this is a circumstance, or what you're feeling, or the exchange between the two of you that has you even questioning in the first place, like, is this a situation where there's like a mutual crush? It feels that it's really just something that is kind of an example of like the archetype or the types of people that you've gravitated towards, or even an approach of like chasing love, or chasing things that are unattainable, unavailable, or not aligned with your highest good. This may be something that has come up in your reality as an opportunity for you to say no to something, that there may be like an overwhelming and compelling feeling of like, say yes, or be patient, or, you know, kind of continue to hold space for this situation. But it feels like it's something that if you chose to do that, or you chose to kind of take this as a confirmation of like, okay, I'm not, this isn't resonating as like a new potential with someone. This is like an old wound kind of calling me back into that same dance that I was doing before, that I've sought to free myself from. Like there's lessons and wisdom to be experienced from both of those things, but this isn't something, it feels like, that serves your highest good, in terms of like providing benefit in the form of like a healthy or uplifted possibility of a connection that would lead to you feeling proud of your choices or satisfied within yourself. You know, this may be something where this is a kind of person, it feels like, that their self-esteem is lifted by other people wanting them. They remain out of reach, unattainable. This could be somebody that, you know, is used to kind of like breadcrumbing others. There may even be something about you that reminds them of a person that rejected them in the past, or somebody that they had like emotional issues with in the past, and it's almost kind of like they couldn't have victory over that situation, or that situation kind of like put them out in the cold or put them at a loss. And because there are reminders within you, or things that are similar about your mannerisms, your vibe, your attitude, how you look, how you live your life, the circumstances under which you've met one another or you experience one another at this point, that it's almost kind of like this may be somebody that is sort of like, they'd be very content to string you along and then discard you as a way of trying to almost one up somebody from their past, like a ghost of the past that still lingers within, of kind of like, okay, like they're almost sort of turning into that which hurt them, is kind of the vibe and the energy here. And so it feels like something that you would almost just be a pawn within that game. It's maybe something this person does systematically, or you've aligned with one another at this point for that, for you to kind of do what you're going to do and make whatever decisions you're going to make, as well as with this person. And then that kind of determines the nature, the pathway that unfolds for both of you in terms of like lessons, healing, you know, karma, whatever that kind of looks like, or whatever you resonate with sort of moving forward. So it feels like it's something to where they may be giving you like mixed signals or indicators. That's like conscious on their part, but their motivation, it feels like, is a little more dark. I hesitate to call it sinister, but it feels like it's coming from a wounded place. So this is something where it's kind of like they like your attention towards them, but they can't reciprocate what you're needing on a deeper emotional level. And you might have dealt with people like that in the past, or you've worked to overcome that pattern or that tendency, maybe of like picking people that resonate with the wound and aren't really good for the healed or healing version of you. And this person is, it's just like another one of those people with a different name, with a different face. Here they are again, popping up in your reality, that same character, that same archetype, that same kind of player in your reality, to where it feels like it's something that there's not like mutual attraction in terms of like, let's honestly get to know one another. It's more that this is somebody who could look at this as like a circumstance of conquest, or in some sort of way to kind of heal their own wound by using somebody else to kind of like throw under the bus, or to kind of turn the tables and come out, what they may perceive as on top, as compared to a situation where they felt that they were duped by another person, they were hurt by another person, they were heartbroken by another person that reminds them of you, or something about this situation, or maybe this is somebody that has kind of like, they didn't get better, they got embittered. They may be somebody that's very pessimistic toward love and romance. So it feels like it's almost something that it's not in your highest good. So let's get a little bit deeper into this and see what else you need to know. Okay, we have Angel and Strategist. Yeah, so that's an excellent confirmation. This little chessboard here, you're just a pawn in this person's war with themselves, with the unhealed aspects of them. This could be somebody who just, they point the finger of blame. They got a lot of bitterness towards, people in general, towards the idea of love and romance. And yet this is somebody that like feeds off of other people's light, feeds off of other people's hope. This is somebody that kind of numbs out their own wound by inflicting wounding on others. Like hurt people hurt people. This is almost like an angel in disguise. Like you're looking at this person or the feelings that you have towards them and maybe feeling like it comes from a high vibrational or like, an angelic sort of place, and it feels it's actually from the lower realms within. It is from that kind of like devilish sort of shadowy aspect inside of yourself, wounds and things that had occurred from the past, that is kind of like that same narrative can play out with this person. Different person, same results. And it feels like this is something that they are a perfect match for that scenario, that same game. They've done this with other people. You might have had this same kind of experience with others in your past. It's almost something that your higher self may be cautioning you about this. There may be signs and synchronicities that you could be misreading that are kind of like conflicting. Almost like that wound within is so compelling that you're like, no, this can't possibly be a bad idea. No, this can't possibly be a red flag. Like you're misreading the red flags and maybe just looking at this person who it feels like is trying to control this narrative. Like they're giving you little bits of hope and possibility, but it's in a very calculated sort of way, to where it's almost like play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Like if you were to progress forward with this person, or continue to indulge in this curiosity or these feelings or whatever the exchange and dynamic is between the two of you, it's almost like you'd come out on the losing end and this person would just sort of carry on in an unbothered way. It wouldn't provide them like the healing that they require from somebody in their past, or maybe a series of people in their past. This could just be somebody that has a lot of self-loathing. They're not capable of love because they don't love themselves. And so this is almost something where it feels like you've been there before with other people. And so this might be the kind of thing where this is almost like an act of bravery, perhaps on your part, to kind of take that higher ground, or to not give yourself permission to participate associate with this person, or to kind of like fall into the same trap, because it feels like you've already addressed this from a different angle. And if you did choose to move forward, it's like the idea of the tables would turn. You'd have the opportunity to kind of learn something from this, evolve and grow. But it's an example of kind of like that familiar sort of almost like a trauma bond, or your wound calling out to something. Sooner or later you're going to have to understand that for what it is and really get on top of that in order to be able to experience a different kind of life or different kind of interpersonal relationships. And so this person has showed up in your reality as kind of like, were you paying attention? You did all that work. Well, okay, here's this opportunity. Are you going to, kind of think back on your experience? Are you going to apply what you've educated yourself about, what you're aware of? Maybe even with this kind of this angel sort of clutching herself, your body may be giving you kind of signals that there's something not good about this, not right about this situation. Especially if you're getting very like obsessive in your thoughts, that may be something that is almost trying to encourage you to kind of move off in the other direction. I'm hearing run in the other direction, because it feels like this is something that you and this person are not operating on the same plane of like emotional reality. You've done some healing, they have not. Even if this is somebody that might be, kind of spiritual, or they say that they've been healing, they claim to have evolved and have grown. They're telling you kind of their tale of woe of like previous people, and how they've tried to do something better. All of that feels to be kind of like a front. It's a ploy, it's a strategy, maybe to just kind of lure in people such as yourself that are a higher vibration, or kind of embody more light, or more like love for yourself. And this is somebody who may just need to, you may be dealing with like a textbook narcissist even, or somebody with a lot of narcissistic or kind of like dark triad tendencies within, where there's almost a sense of they feel very empowered by kind of knocking people down a peg, taking that light from other people to sort of fill a source that is void within themselves. And it feels like you've seen this before in other people. And so any kind of instinct that you might have had, anything that could have been a very direct sort of like no about this person, if you ignore that, it's almost something that is you're not gonna be happy with the result of that. But it may be necessary for you to kind of quantum leap into the next level of like learning boundaries, or really trusting, and kind of like, when we free ourselves from patterns, or we seek to understand and learn those, often they creep back up, just to sort of like test or check up of kind of like, okay, did you learn your lesson? Now can you acknowledge those frequencies or those vibrations that you needed to heal from, or kind of negative experiences? Can you recognize that no matter what guise it comes in, even if it comes dressed as everything you've ever wanted? Can you recognize beyond the surface what really aligns with like a higher timeline, and what is something that would just kind of suck you back into a previous type of reality? So let's get one more card, and then I'll move on into some guidance from Spirit about the situation. Okay, we have the Wishmaker. So this is interesting. This came up in pile 1, but this was like a totally different energy and a totally different reading. So that might be something that some of you, this is kind of relating to the fact that like, if you say no to this person, the yes that you're looking for is like right around the corner. This may be kind of, again, like a test from the universe. Like, are you able to see beyond the surface and kind of like trust in energies? Are you able to understand the ways in which your wounds, maybe even ancestral patterns or inner child wounding, how it's called you towards certain experiences that only serve to reinforce that kind of limited experience or that limited reality? Have you learned those lessons? You've done the work. You said that you've kind of applied that to your life. Now in real time, are you able to kind of make that distinction? Because if you are, you're one step closer to that wish fulfillment. And if you're not, then there's almost like the be careful what you wish for energy, in the form of like, this person may seem like everything that you wanted, but it feels like to step forward with it, it would just kind of put you back into a place of needing to kind of go through some familiar, heartbreak, emotional experiences, kind of like taking some time to sort of mend your broken heart before you'd be able to kind of come forth more empowered and kind of like wiser through this experience. So let's see what Spirit wants you to know. What is the guidance about the situation? Okay, we have Eagle, see from a higher perspective. Yeah, so there's definitely a sense of like appearances are deceiving with this person, or the situation is something which it's almost like your own wound preying upon you, or kind of, you know, eyeing you at this particular point in time. Like, okay, you said that you want a better life. You said you want a different quality in romance. You said you're looking for something better. You're looking for something more. Here's something where it's kind of resonating or registering with feelings, or kind of a yearning or desire inside of you. But now the question is, what's the origin of that? Is that an example of like a better future beckoning you forth, or is this an example of you're headed in a better direction and so your past is trying to like cling to you? There's a sense here of you kind of having some tough love on yourself. There may be kind of like, this is almost the sense of not encouraging you to kind of like talk this out with this person. You know, it may even be where to kind of like disconnect, distance yourself, limit the nature of your interactions with one another. Because it's almost like with this eagle that's a bird of prey, this person kind of like preys on people. They definitely could be a narcissist, or again, like something as far as the dark triad of personality traits, they embody that. So this may be time for you to kind of take a refresher course on what that means, or even sort of look at those kind of like details and then start to reframe what you've experienced with them, what they've said, what they've done. Breadcrumbing is coming up very substantially in this. And so this is almost something that it's like you're wise enough. It may be kind of like harsh to sort of look at it and realize like, okay, I sort of fell victim to something for a minute, or, you know, I got lost in the illusion or like a delusion about something, but I see who this is, or I see what this is. I see this fits into something yucky and very familiar, and I've been through that. I don't want to go through that again. You know, been there, done there, and got the t-shirt. Let's move on to something else. You know, and the encouragement is to kind of like set your sights higher than this circumstance, and kind of like there's a way to sort of diplomatically disconnect from how you've been relating to this energetically speaking. And you may need to become comfortable with becoming the bad guy or the villain in this scenario by kind of just cutting this person off, not really giving them a piece of your mind, because it feels like they would already be 10 steps ahead as far as like how to kind of maybe make you doubt your intuition in some sort of way, or make you feel bad or guilty about that in some kind of context. And there's a sense of almost kind of like, just rise higher, just set your sights towards something else. And energies like this will just sort of fall off on their own, and then you'll be able to kind of profess to the universe like, yeah, I want a better experience in love and romance. Whatever this is going on with this individual, this isn't it. I know that I need something aligned with my highest good, and it feels like that'll put you in very close proximity to an experience with a different kind of person that resonates with something that's actually for your well-being. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got F, S, D, Z, L, B, T, E, O, W, A, O, R, B, M, N, and I. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that in the bio. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the pink calcite. So let's see, is the circumstance with the person on your mind, is this got some mutual attraction going on, or is this an example of limerence? have transcendent amidst the everyday. She of 1,000 flowers. And her book of shadows. So it feels like this is an example of attraction is possible between the two of you, but you're more aware of the potential or the chemistry, or that what this person has presented seems to resonate with like what you're looking for, what you're attracted to, what you're trying to align with. And this person may be a little kind of further behind on their own personal journey. They may be in a place of still kind of closed off after coming out of another relationship, where it's almost kind of like they like you as a person, or there's something as far as like there's a cheerful energy here, and there's almost a sense of like they've needed to kind of take a period of hibernation, or maybe they're trying to kind of just sit through the pain and disappointment or loss of like a previous connection. And it's almost like they're not ready to put themselves out there again. They're not looking for love at this point. They're not in an emotional place to receive fully what you have to give romantically, but this is not a circumstance of like all hope is lost, that it's a total mismatch. This may be a circumstance of kind of like, because you've become aware of sort of like, hey, there's some potential here. Hey, there's some interest. Hey, I'm attracted to this person. And they seem to be kind of like giving signals or indicators that they're receptive to who I am as a person. This is almost a circumstance of kind of like you helping to draw this person's attention away from wounds that they've needed to heal, or like a period of sort of grieving the loss of another connection, where it's almost sort of like what can develop in this circumstance, it's meant to happen like further down the road. Not like you're meant to sort of like wait or put your life on hold, but there's something almost about kind of the acknowledgement of this attraction, even in the form of like watching this reading and kind of like sitting with these feelings inside of yourself and kind of just carrying on with your life and, you know, your interactions with this person up to this point in time, that your light becomes that light in their own darkness in some sort of way. Like they will inevitably reach the end or conclusion of their kind of grieving period of time, you know, maybe just like being on their own, trying to kind of create an identity outside of sort of a mutual consciousness that they experienced in a previous romance. And at a certain point in time, there's an instinct within them that'll be like, okay, now I've sort of taken care of me. Now I'm ready to kind of, you know, invite in other energies to my reality. Now I'm ready to kind of open my heart to sort of what else is out there. And it feels like that's where you sort of factor into this equation. And it's the idea of like with these two books in these two cards, but she's holding the book here, and then this book's sort of down below. It's like you are on the same page with one another. Like there's the ability to kind of have a different sort of narrative take place between the two of you, romantically speaking, but this person is kind of just like, they're still digesting the lessons from their last experience in love. Like their heart may be kind of shut down, but this isn't someone that's like shut off from life altogether. It's like they're in the process of kind of resurrecting themselves out of that energy of loss. And when that cycle has kind of run its course for them, and life or their instinct or their own sense of like, okay, I got to put myself back out there. I can't sit and kind of grieve or mourn or, you know, have this pity party forever. When that happens for them and they kind of reach down and sort of pick up the book of life and decide to, you know, write a new future for themselves outside of this loneliness or isolation or solitude, it's almost like there you are as something. This may be something where the person is like, okay, we've got this friendship going on, or it's like an acquaintance, or, you know, in some way you've got like contact with one another. And then there's a sense of like, okay, independent of that, they're at a place where like, now I'm ready to explore kind of creating connections with other people. You're exactly what they're looking for. You're somebody that resonates with like a next chapter in their reality, but their timeline is still in the process of being like stitched together or created or woven in such a way that you can meet one another on equal ground. You can meet one another in that kind of shared energy of sort of like, we've learned from the past or things have happened in the past. Now let's look towards the future. So they're not in a place right now of being able to kind of receive the possibilities of you fully at this point, but they do see you as like a light, as a joy, as a beneficial or a very positive presence within their reality. And it feels like something that may be very necessary for that kind of basis of friendship to either develop, continue to develop, or like continue to be sort of a stronghold for them. That light kind of helping them when they're having a hard time kind of finding the light, or maybe it's taking a lot for them to kind of just put on a brave face and sort of get through their day. They don't have the bandwidth to kind of, give to others or to receive from others. They're trying to kind of just create closure or move forward or accept their current reality, but there's a sense of like that energy won't last forever. It's a necessary kind of shape shifting into who they will be in this next like chapter of their life. And it feels like that version that is in kind of more this light, airy and sort of the energy of wonder, it aligns very deeply with like who you are, what you have going on. So, when that heart space is kind of like ready to open up, ready to kind of like let down the wall, let down the guard a little bit, it feels like you're sort of that inevitable choice. It's you're that person that is kind of like, they may be, 6 months from now or a year from now, or just kind of whatever that looks like. It doesn't feel like this would be very far off on the horizon. It's like you've encountered this person, you've met this person in the midst of their cycle of that closure, of kind of like moving on from the past or kind of grieving the loss of something. And then when they're able to kind of pull themselves out of it, it's kind of like, wow, I've got feelings for you. What I was looking for was in front of me the whole time. And so it feels like that will kind of be the game changer within this situation, because you're somebody that exists as that like compatible person on a timeline that like, through their sort of maybe like dark night of the soul energy, they're actively in the process of kind of reconfiguring themselves energetically, emotionally, actually, to be able to kind of recognize and respond to the potential of mutual attraction. Like it's in the process of kind of developing. So let's see what else you need to know about this. Okay, we have Sage and Angel. So it feels like this person gets a lot out of your interactions with one another. You lift their spirits, you raise them up, or you're holding space for them without even knowing it. Or maybe this is somebody that's like confessed certain things, confided in you about things that they're going through, and it's almost like you're their companion. You're almost like a guardian angel over the future potential of what can happen for them romantically as a person. Like you're walking with them through the process of where they're at this particular point in their life and what they are eventually going to want to kind of step into in terms of like, I'm ready to love again, I'm ready to put myself back out there, I'm ready to date, I'm ready to explore potentials. And so you're already kind of, there's a mutual attraction in terms of like shared appreciation for one another. And when that heart space gets to the place where it's completed that grieving process, it's like both their higher and lower nature that is kind of disconnected from the energy of grief that they're in currently already recognizes you as somebody that represents like a step up beyond what they've experienced in the past, something that isn't just going to kind of inevitably sort of replicate the wounds of the past. You may be very different from whoever this is that like broke their heart before, and so there could be a process of this person, kind of setting their standards higher, looking for something else, kind of working through or processing or dealing with kind of whatever happened in their previous relationship, and it's a sense of like you're better than what they were dealing with before. You offer a different kind of experience. You align with like an aspect of their journey that they are walking every single day to come to the point of kind of readiness to be that participant. It's almost the idea of kind of like the potentials between the two of you, that full exploration, or even kind of calling it like a mutual attraction in a romantic sense. Like they're attracted to you energetically, but they don't have the capacity to maybe perceive things romantic at this time. It's not because of you, it's because of this alchemy that's taking place within, those wounds that are being kind of cauterized and turned into wisdom. Sort of like, I know the mistakes that I made before and I know what not to do again. And when they come through that process of kind of debriefing their most recent kind of heartbreak, you're that person that is there, almost kind of like a godsend, or you know, like an angel in their life in some sort of way, that they're not just kind of stepping forth into nothing, but there's a sense of kind of like, I know what it is that I want, I know what it is that I need, and I know that you embody that totally. So this is something where, again, you're kind of holding that light as this person's pulling themselves up out of their personal darkness, your friendship, your encounters, your experiences. Maybe it's even just very sporadic communication, or you just see one another kind of very casually even. All of that does a lot for this person. Ways that you might not even know, ways that might be kind of a mystery to them. It's like they feel lighter after having been in your presence. They feel more hopeful. Words of wisdom that you've given, encouragement, compliments, conversation, even just kind of paying attention to them at a time where they may feel like a ghost in their own life. That is something which is helping to encourage them to continue staying the course of kind of like moving through that experience of loss and heartbreak and learning to kind of live their life to the fullest again. So this is like a mutual attraction that's in the process of developing. Like you're magnetizing this in with this person. This person's exercising their free will in a lot of different ways, and every choice that they make brings them closer to this place of being able to kind of recognize the potential between the two of you to have something beautiful and very different from what they've known. So let's get one more card about this, and I'll get some guidance from Spirit about the situation. Okay, we have the Brave. Yeah, so this person is, again, going through that process of kind of releasing hurts and heartbreak for the past, working up the courage, being brave enough to love again, to put themselves out there again, to date, to let someone into their reality, let someone into their life. If this is somebody that's been single for a while, there may even be that like your friendship or your presence is kind of coaxing them out of hiding. They've been sort of shut down. They've kind of kept people at a distance, or maybe whatever they'd been through was pretty devastating, or, you know, they just had kind of like a hard time dealing with it, or they've chosen solitude over just kind of repeating patterns, or they haven't really found anyone they've connected with. There's something where it's almost like you're bringing them out of hiding. You're encouraging them to trust in the power of love, of connection, of interpersonal relationships romantically as a beneficial thing, rather than something that like leaves them worse for wear. So this is almost like a potential that's being unearthed between the two of you. The more you continue to be like brave in your authenticity, or, you know, in however it is you've been interacting with or dealing with this person up to this point in time, maybe even just respecting their space and boundaries, all of that is something which is pulling them forth beyond this kind of energy of feeling very defeated, very wounded, having to kind of lick their wounds, and coming into the place of like, okay, whatever has happened before has happened before. Now, what opportunities am I going to seek in the here and now? My past is my past, but how can my future look different? How can I have experiences with people that are different from what I've known? And the more they kind of ask those questions directly, or even kind of subconsciously to themselves, the more they're able to kind of shift their vision to be able to perceive you as somebody that brings the energy of light and positivity in, as kind of like an antidote to sort of the hurt and the negativity that they've been sitting with or have been kind of like holding inside. So let's see, what does Spirit want you to know about the situation, or what's the guidance here? Okay, we have heart guardian, love, and let yourself be loved. Yeah, so there's definitely the potential here for something sparks between the two of you to kind of ignite into something very beautiful. But this person is closed off at this particular point in time. Like, they can't receive love. They can't really give very high vibrational love, or they can't really give that kind of connection at this point, and are not in a place to receive it because their heart's still being repaired from whatever the previous circumstance was. Maybe this is even someone that has had other sort of losses, other setbacks in their life in general. And so where they are, or they could be in like a transitional period of their life where it's almost like top priority, what's taking precedence is kind of stepping into a new version of themselves or a new lived reality. But when they kind of get into that place of like, okay, the growing pains are over, and I'm fully kind of enmeshed within this new version of myself, or whatever changes they've wanted to create for them, it's almost like they open their eyes and it's right there, it's right in front of them. You are a person that is worth kind of getting to know more, worth kind of exploring feelings that it almost feels like are building, but they're kind of being set aside, like they're tucked away, almost like an investment account for this person. It's like they're taking note and registering the positive impact that you're having. And it's a thing where it's almost like their heart recognizes, hey, this is something that could be a more positive experience than what they've known. But there are also emotional aspects of them that need to kind of like feel completely, or deal with, or kind of move through the experience of a previous cycle or of loss in order to be kind of like fully embodied and present in the opportunity that exists like a little further up the road between the two of you. So continue to be sort of like patient with this situation. Kind of expect the unexpected in a very beautiful way. This is the kind of person that could like wake up one day and be like, wow, okay, I am lonely. I am looking for love. I do want that companionship. And here's someone that's been in my life, that's been in my reality, that I have these interactions with, that I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to do something different to break out of this monotony of grief. And I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to ask them out. I'm going to deepen our conversations. I'm going to get to know this person. And that's kind of like that brave step forward in the direction of kind of a new kind of life. It feels like that aligns very much with sort of how you're positioned within their reality currently. So you're like in receptive mode, but you're also leading this situation forward. The more you continue to kind of embody yourself, the more that it represents that kind of beacon on the horizon that this person is kind of navigating towards, like a north star that they're sort of unconsciously following to kind of fully align with like a better or a different timeline, a different chapter in their reality, where the two of you then will be like really on the same page because maybe you've been through similar things, or the vibe's right, the chemistry's right between the two of you. It has the potential to provide a different sort of experience than the type of grief, loss, or disappointment you've tasted before for yourselves. And so there's a sense of just like, keep being you, keep trusting in this process, that even though it's kind of like not fully aligned, where this would be like, yeah, there's definitely mutual romantic attraction, they're getting there within themselves. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got P, I, B, Z, G, B, R, T, V, D, Y, D, T, S, E, I, H, and W. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you'd like a personal reading, there's a link for that in the bio. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.